Dharma brothers and sisters, we are starting soon. Please come back to your seats. 各位佛友，请大家入座，谢谢。
哦，哦，哦，哦，
Can you hear me?
All participants, please come in now. Thank you very much.
哦，
那请各位佛友，请大家入座，谢谢。
哦，哦，
Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Is it better?
Yes. How's this?
Page number 9.
Is this better now?
Nam kala ma pa me pala kor chan jo semba pa de me be kor wang se jo ba jum.
In the space in front appears the Guru in the form of Amitabha, surrounded by an inconceivable retinue of bodhisattvas.
Namo Concho Sam Tan Za Wa San Cham Ne Na La Cha Sen Che Ro Gon San Je Lan Goi Che Chan Chon Cho De Sen Jian Do Namo Concho Sam Tan Za Wa San Cham ne na la cha san ro guan san je lan gui che chan chun cho de sen jian dong.
Namo, to the three jewels and the three roots, the places of protection, I go for refuge. In order to establish all beings in Buddhahood, I give rise to the mind set on supreme awakening.
Page number 28. Ho hon ran re na wan ta ye ke zong zen cha re sen la de na wan ta ye lo na me ran re chu ke ngon ca jin.
Hong, innate awareness is the form of Amitabha. Look at the mind that is free of subject-object duality. There is no other Amitabha than that. How wondrous is the truth body of self-knowing awareness.
Om Dewa Shi Om Dewa Om Dewa Shi Om Dewa Shi Om Dewa Shi Om Dewa Shi Tangwe tuje chaje rasun rang yin je mata tuje bonjong ba se je lombo tawe jibek shaje jarbe shala ke san sa jagar benjen pola karen che pe ma lan chong ko lan den chong tata lon simbe kanun Orjin Rinpoche la ke san sa chumyo sa tu ji jin kor de man zhi xib zing pa cha da tam jin jin ba kum jin chi je jin nyan men zhi go ren jin ke san sa xib zing ka lan chi ram jin kor jin ze pa wa tong der Jarwa dimba kong la san ze pe ka ju rinpo che la ku san sa sho mi chi jin je por ana tu sum san je kong je ngo ran sen chi kong on san dong ze pe za wa la me sha la ku san sa da so sim je tam je ja lo chu sun ro wa sen je la de chu lam don ro wa sen je la de so lan chu wa se wa sen je la de Chöwai hisen chawa sinje labdo so. Tani tomar da tsamalan tsamrija hidele hije tang. Tani tere ngaran so kapsi papa ta amende Dhondrup chimo nyin tambo kap kide yore teni. Tani nda tawa nana tani ngaran so ta nyamgyo si taba de hatyan ngaran so kawa zambo yin sam te soso ke soso le che gawa gom rewa. te tabangane mayeng sem mayeng bogone ngana so nyamni tachi tutsunde hajang ge tsa chimboji chade yodi te tabata tutsunde tsa chimbo yimba kawa zambo yimba ha ko tinshi tam payu dimbogone ngage ta nimba te sem mayeng bogone sa go te hajang ge ke chimbo chago yores te tabata samno tangs samno tang te tabogone ngaso ma Nero chi si ta tsogon do dina nga nangzo tara ta ama dewa Dhondrup chimo zondo tsogo soso ke ta lunga yi simga Dhondrup pajang yare jewa tsira mabon nga zo saagya ba Dhondrup di pajang Dhondrup ta chade nga zo ta chi dewa ji shinkang la so ba sanje chi kompang to ya ta te tabla nga zo sam tangar tsogo ta nga nangzo chi opame nyamne siya tsogo te miksan ro chi yore mikyun ro chi nga dewa chi shinan rogo samba rewa dewa chi shinan rogo samba samlo kawani yung kore sin kowan de ngone do nga sanje machapa re san te nga hako te hako ne ten ro sa ta tele do nga le ro tanen ro sa chi yore sin ro sa yore dewa chi shinkam yore sin kanji chi rogo re sin kanji chi nga sanje yo pa me nyamne si rewa sanje yo pa me le nge lunga yi sin tse chi bugo nge lu 마행 보고네 샘 마행 보고는 릭파 찌찌도 줌네 되는 게 스라기 심지 탐지기 치등이요 빠면 냠내지네 되라기 심지 탐지 대화지 시는 로트 바치고 삼샘 대답더니 그런 거는 되는 아주 냠네 대치던데 야고 요레스
Tashi Deleg and everyone. Today is our first day of
no
the Ami. Are you hear me?
저렇게 씹으면 되다
Yes, hey, Bominda. So,
can you hear
can you hear me?
something okay
How is it? How is it?
How is it?
聞こえます。
Is it okay? Yeah?
Yes, Ina is
Okay,
better now. It's better now.
Okay,
Thank
good. Okay. Okay. Satashi Dele, everyone. Today is our first day of the Amitabha 100 million mantra recitation retreat. And we are very fortunate to be part of this. And it's important to recognize that and to rejoice in your own good fortune. So the reason why we are fortunate is because this is a very precious time. And so the fact that we can be here shows that we have great fortune. So therefore, we must make the best use of our time and not allow our mind to get distracted. So practice with mindfulness and recite the mantra with a single pointed focus without any distraction. And so this is the first kind of mindset that you should have. And then also, what about the purpose for practicing this Amitabha 100 million mantra recitation retreat? It's mainly in order to purify the negativities and obscurations of our body, speech, and mind. And then when they are purified, then we can actually be born in the Pure Land of Dewa or attain complete enlightenment. So we need to keep that goal in mind. And so most important, therefore, you should think that, so when I'm practicing Amitabha, I want to go to Dewa. Why do I want to go to Dewa? Because there's a lot of suffering in samsara, and I want to be free from suffering. So is there a way out of suffering? There is a way out. One can be born in the Pure Land of Dewa. So then how do we get there? We get there when we practice single-pointedly the Buddha Amitabha, when we focus our mind without distraction. But not just for ourselves, we practice for all sentient beings. So it's best if you have the motivation thinking that I am going to engage in this practice of the Buddha Amitabha in order to be born in Dewa. And I want to be born in Dewa so that I can benefit all sentient beings. So I'm practicing for the purpose of myself and all sentient beings. I need to go to the Pure Land of Dewa. So that is a good motivation to have. So.
Oh yeah, that ring around so cups of papa tara manga share the tini Ji Gambo Bateni Jinze Petene Lamchorum Bochin Chungwa Shi Sawatis. Tene Ji Gambo by Shibateta, Angasote Puch Pug Kaju Kachuntagananetene, Kaju Batam Jegetene, Tatunta, Kaju Shibatunta, so Tanju Satitara, Gambo Chakayor. Tene Gambo Bas, the Kedim needing a Jevichimbo Sanjim Machapa, Tendris. Tene tege tene zamya butinchi mangboji re tenane tene kapsa babadara lamcho re chinchingwas lamcho sedi lam sedi kar lam shego zena sanjeji kompang toparsiba that sanjeji kompang toparsiba tene rogur lam rosak lam tab o te tab ta lam mangboji yorwanga sanjeji kompang topal tab dan lam minga mangboji benani tab mangboji benani chod choba lam tamji chod choba tene manorwa tene gambo baran konge songya betene lamchoren chin chwa na yinji di langwa den songwa ina tene ngara so sanje ji kompang tot ba o te ta betene chebar de pa betene yongsamo tene te kaps pa ba den ngaso ma she yes.
And so today I'm going to be teaching about Gambopa's jewel, precious garland of the Supreme Path. And so, first of all, regarding Gambopa himself, who composed this text. So in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, and in the various traditions, Gambopa's teachings are considered to be the main source of the Kagyu lineage teachings. And Gambopa was really an extraordinary being. He was a great scholar and also a very accomplished, realized master. And so he composed actually many different treatises, many different commentaries. But today we are going to talk about the precious garland of the Supreme Path by Gambopa. And so it is the supreme path. And so why is it called a path? It is because it is this kind of path is a path that leads to the state of enlightenment. It's the method or the path or the essential instruction that leads to enlightenment. And of the many different instructions that exist, this is a supreme. This one is a truly very special instruction. It is a complete and unmistaken method to attain enlightenment. And so it was composed by Gampopa, and it is the path here, the supreme path is the path that that leads to Buddhahood. And so this is the the special text that I'm going to explain today.
다 담보 때 잡 책데 상물에 요에 때 파치 자자는 팔린체는 요래 삼삼지여 팔린체 요나면 짜책데
So does everyone have a copy of the root text? So Rinpoche thinks that it was published online, but just want to make sure that everyone has the text.
다 남몽거르 간신 코르 잠선 직스론신 가르카와레 조원제베 가주 림보치 주파 넘버 타페 진진 신납지 추준 잠소친베 인터 세미시베 몽람 자치신 요런데 용어링와 흔주주베 주주 트마미베 라마 담바나라 찬사힌 잡순초 신제 랍드 소스 다데 조응하면서 띵지 조응데 도마르데더니 소소가 잡을 라마다 주플 라마 다 열고만 나나 야 건조 숨나더니 산사긴 주더니 소란데 그 열에서 된주 아주 주브르 주바스 베낭 아주 나몽그르스나 나몽그르스나 라마가 찬살로스 단 돌드는 공게다라 로아 심지 탐지 정공당 잡당 뿐이 담바르 제베더니 가주 라마나나더니 공게 소란데 열에서 담보더니 좀 야 토마스 자미 온갑라 텔레 소완데네 다주 신젤랍드 소스
So then first the text begins with Namo Ratna Gurum, and then adorned, I hope I have the same copy, adorned with the pure conduct of the precious Kagyu, you help us traverse the ocean of samsara, so terrifying and difficult to cross. Your stream of blessings is as inexhaustibly immense as the expanse of the great ocean, and your aspirations are vast, enduring, and spontaneously accomplished. All noble masters of the flawless practice lineage, I bow before you. Be my refuge and grant your blessings. So this is the opening verse, and that is often what we find in the beginning of a composition. It is the commitment. And this homage and prostration is essentially the commitment to compose this text. And so it begins with homage to the root and the lineage gurus and the three jewels. So we prostrate and we pray to them first, and then we ask them to grant their blessings. So.
Kaju Tedale song Jung Yunbur Yila Nakbar Sete Ngutan Juch Rani la Yidong Kardin Namla Shinde Jeep Dangwa Lam Chodo Chopa Rambojin Chungwa Shisawa Shik Yigiris Kupar Jo Son Tatela Konge Zampar Tamjawa Sigar Konge Tati Timji Ndrigins 간르진 드긴스나 다 콩을 투모만 주바 망보여 주바니스 가사 추닌리스 가사 추닌리 티 주바데 콩기다 콩레데 주바데 콩레 데 주바신람 제난다 다 주바게 콩라 데 냠닌티 똑바데 레비어레스 간디지 레비스 주바 센서도 다나 산지 좀 된데네 마단 놀록데니 마 주데바데 다 삼모 따위 주바다 자치 주비 주바신 단 드니 마주인데 아트샤니 chen 술 주인데 드니 따라 공개 까담 콘탐보 자사 자화 첸데 드니 까담 자산 르네 드니 까담 게위히니 망부 샬르데네 드니 럽주 망보체 투삼고서 사키 마차버세 핫장 게위히니 케바 침보차 드니 게위히니 침보 던지 차세데 드니 공개 집주 말아레바 게 님바 씨네 드네 집주 말아레베 샤블라도네 드네 사자침보 드네 다 냠네 신라고 주파스 단 도드네 자와 도딘찬에 마주데 드네 상하 투모마이 베드네 냠네 신랍 주바타 양콩라 테테네 양콩게 솔 말레 집주 말레 샤블라도네 드네 콩게 투삼낭 그리고 대인도 콩게 단 도드네 동한이 게다 동한이를 콩게 투산 상지 맞춰버지다 상지 맞춰버선 되게 주바데서 대참마 콩게 주를 전tum도 일은 나버세데서 일은 나버세선데 다때 콩게 담보 투 되네 콩게 때 냠네세 쌈 냠네세 곰 되네 곰투 쌈고 탈탈콩 탈신다 투 쌈고선 탈신네 되네 저 와서 진보 공방 톱네 되네 콩게 다 띠띵지된 저게스 띠띵지된 저기서 콩게 담자 띵지도 가르치던 적이 있으나 오 콩나다 핫장게 되네 너무 콩나 대바유바 다라 콩가 롬마다 되네 마음바 콩가 롬마 단 너드는 콩가 주바 심지 탐지게 치되는 콩가 되네 띵지든 다라 람초론 보체 청마시베 되네 띵지도 콩가 저기 해서 단 너드는 된 저야한테 너나 콩가다 아 심기 간사 쓰이나요. 되니 대다 탐지 되니 코로 동할레 탈 내갑 되니 동할레 탄네 되니 내갑 된로다 탈 산지지 공파 토버스드 되니 공게 대다 탐지기 지되 되니 공근 그 연소다 산지지 공파 토반 노반 남지 지된 그 요소
And then it says, having cherished the spoken advice of the Kagyu masters in my heart for so long, I shall now write down these most treasured oral instructions for those who are directly or indirectly devoted to me as a precious garland that is the sublime path. And so this is really the vow to complete this composition. And so he, out of great care for others, he committed to writing this down. And so now he says that what he writes down is what he himself had learned, the most treasured and oral instructions that he himself had received. And so he himself has actually, there are two lineages that spring from him. And so one is the Sutra lineage that traces back to the Buddha, the Sutra path, and the Sutra path also has two lineages. There's the lineage of the profound view and the lineage of the vast conduct, and they were passed down from the Buddha, and then they reached also the noble Atisha, and then later reached Gampopa. And Gampopa was, so he received these sutra lineages first, and initially he was a monk in the Kadampa tradition. So first he studied under a lot of Kampa masters. So he received many teachings from many great Kadampa masters, and he became an extraordinary scholar first. And after that, he met with Milarepa. And then through that meeting with Milarepa, he then was introduced to the teachings of Mahamudra. And that is the other lineage, the practice lineage of blessings. And that is the tantric lineage. That is passed down from the Buddha Vajradhara up until the present Guru through the teachings of the secret mantra Vajrayana. So Gampopa is a source of both of these lineages, the Sutra and the Sutric and the Tantric lineages. And he had mastered all of these teachings. So he first completed his training according to the Kadampa lineage, and then he gained realization under Milarepa. So in brief, we can say Gampopa has an incredible learning in both the sutras and the tantras. So first he heard the teachings, he studied them, and then he reflected on them, and he practiced them, he meditated, and in the end, he fully realized them, he fully mastered them, and he became a great, accomplished, realized master. And so now, having become this master, he then takes this commitment to write down this commentary. And why is he writing this commentary? Who is it addressed to? It is for the students, the disciples that have great devotion. All of these direct and indirect disciples who are devoted to him. So there are those who were his actual direct students. And then he wrote it also for their students and their students. So for all the future disciples too. So why did he write it for them? It is because it is to liberate all sentient beings, anyone who encounters these teachings from suffering. All beings suffer in samsara. And this is a method for beings to temporarily become liberated from the suffering of samsara and be born in more happy states in the higher realms, and ultimately in order to attain enlightenment. So this was his purpose of writing this text.
Tara lamchorin chinchangwa de maa de konga tsaam de jitsin sene tunda rele jitsin sene maa tingka yo res jitsin sene de teni tomar deni de konga de dambo pangbo chu je sen pang na sene bena nonchun ro xor songwa na ta nonchur de le xor songwa yin ta nga na di nonchur de le chi nonchur yin pa ngon de xi go rwa ngon de xie chi de teni nonchur rawa teni kandijini nonchur xion de yo mi te tawu go ne teni ti nonchur de ta pena nga na tamjo ju mili toba ti teni nga na chi nyamnei ma zewa yina teni tamjo ju mili ndo chi tonglo lo songwa yina teni te tabu te ya nonchur chik chaga yore pe te tabu go ne teni kongi nonchur chio teni jini nga zolo tso ngotu chiga yore esi ngotu chi te chiye de teni tambo chutsin re yung kudu waasi teni chutang nga na tambo xigo yada nangbu chu se chi yore nangbu chu se yada zo kare xe yin kore zo kare xe yin kore tse ndar le tse sima zo chiga yore tse ndar le tse sima zo chiga yin di te sina teni nga zo tse sima la teni sanji chi kompang toya te zo chi xe yore ta te zo chi xe yore la te zo chi nga zo nyamne chiga yore nga zo nekab le tartuk te zo chi xe yore tartuk ke che yore pa ten chi tu sam gomsa kare che na ya zo che sanji chi kompang toba ta teni kobo donga le tab tang teni simki tamje le pingpa jachin bu drip to ya te zo chi nga zo xe yore te tambo nga zo ha kodo was te ha ma o yina nga na zo ke tsinda zo chi ga ta ma tsinda zo sen de teni che tsinda le che tsinda ge chi de teni pamjur teni tsinda chi de dechi tsinda chi de che ta chi ta ninja ta yabu yin mangbo che nga tsinda chi de beso chi ge ro ina dambe chu xe sen dambe chu nyamni tu sam sen de zo tse sma de zo chi ge te tambo nga zo ha ko we de chu lobyong tambo na chu lobyong sen de te nenga no de ha ko go yu sa res
And so what these teachings consist of a set of 10 points. So Gampopa introduces to this path through introducing us to 10 points at a time, to set various sets of 10 points. And so the first one, the first set of 10 is one should recollect the 10 aspects of abandoning worldly concerns. So here, this first set of 10, here the author, Kapopa, introduces us to 10 mistakes that we need to be aware of, that we need to recognize. And so that is at the time where we have found a precious human body with the freedoms and fortunes, is important that we make good use of it. If we do not make good use of this precious human life and use it to practice, then it would be a great mistake. And so this is the first set of 10, where he introduces us to this set of 10 mistakes, or 10 things that we should not make. And so the first and foremost, the first and most important point that we need to understand here is that, first of all, we need to really get the point of what does the Dharma actually teach? What is it all about? And so generally, naturally, we have a tendency to focus everything on this life. But the purpose of the Dharma is really for future lives. Future lives are more important than this present life, or the ultimate is more important than the temporary. So enlightenment is more important. And we practice the Dharma to reach enlightenment. And so this is the key point that we need to understand about the Dharma. So the main purpose of practice is to become liberated, to become enlightened, and then to be able to benefit all sentient beings. And that's something we definitely have to understand, because if we don't understand this, then we will just continue seeing this life as most important. And then even if we put our effort into anything, it just is something about this life. We just do it in order to become rich, or to be happy in this life, or to be famous, and so on. But we need to understand that true Dharma practice is really for the sake of future lives. So in the very beginning, when we first start to learn the Dharma, or to study the Dharma, this is a point that we have to understand very clearly first, because otherwise now our mindset will be mistaken.
Tela Tomar Kitsin Tambote, Teyan Tinji Kanza, Tarbata Tamchin Chimpe, Sanje Topan Dube, Tambo Pangbu Chuji Jins Jim Barsates, Pangbu Chiji. Zabsik ngagite des ha kone tene yabo jedang zabsik de be khasibo donda ne be khapto ngade ngarang nam yuke sawa de shu julam den rewa shu yu de batin chade dos 당보 팡부 취취 지스 진 버사데 송 니퍼카브 물리 장만데 메게 딕벨레라 쭈던 방 딘버카브 담주 물리 장만데 취미 타마르 줄리스 셔런바 닝무 뒤지 메체 용통유 잠데 도미사블레라 제던 방 라신 추거란 인트미던 트원 코론담데 생던 방 람나리 벨라마 담바데 산초 마토 버든 라던 방 타포트진 동바 담세데 녀몽 바미 지원키 식던 방 람메 진저 랑란이 베토바든 드지 찬색게 습데 또든 방 저톱 남지 민화 사모데 만나 깔미나나 송도 종던 방 로와 심진 진진 파마나 당원 셈제 뽕힌 노란 방 윤벌라조 따로 고슴데 타만 땅용한데 야든 방 되는 방법 취재이노스 디자식 담보지 말 전에 로나데 핀사데
And so the first main point is the need to turn the mind away from samsara. And so the first point to understand here is how difficult it is to find a precious human life. And so now that is what this first set of 10 instructions deals with, and you can follow the root verses. The words are actually very clear and very to the point and very direct. So they actually really, it's something that we all can relate to. We can relate to because these instructions really relate to our daily life on what we actually do on a daily basis. So first I'm going to read, so Rinpoche asked me to read through these 10 verses. So the first one, so all 10 are, this perfect human body, so difficult to find, is wasted by engaging in unvirtuous evil deeds. This perfect human body with the freedoms and riches so hard to obtain is wasted by dying an ordinary, unspiritual person. This fleeting human life, already short in this dark age, is wasted when spent on pointless activities. Your mind, whose unconstructed nature is Dharmakaya, is wasted by sinking into the muddy swamp of samsaric delusion. The sublime master who leads you onto the path is wasted when you dissociate from him before attaining enlightenment. Your vows and samayas, the ship to reach liberation, are wasted when broken through frivolous, disturbing emotions. The experience and realization discovered within yourself through the assistance of a master are wasted when allowed to dissipate in the jungle of materialistic activities. The profound oral instructions of the siddhas are wasted when bartered like merchandise to ordinary unworthy people. All sentient beings, your own kind parents, are wasted when, out of hatred, you abandon and forsake them. Your youth, when your body, speech, and mind are fresh and vigorous, is wasted when spent in ordinary indifference. So,
사비책 되나드네 담보들 니빠르까바 물류 장만데 몇개 딕벌래라 주던 반세 다티 사비책에 가르친 게 여러세나 다랑 안서 톱데 물류지 여러 담주주 물류 니빠르까바 담주 물린데세 저당 담주주 물류들라 장망보도 안서 장 담주 물류들 가려 담주 좁지 장 좁지 다 저당 것만 보여야 되는 저돈 좁지 너 dü나 르는 니다 센 숨세 저 감보박서 놈이야 당 너드나 랑게 르와 르지고네 알라 담부추도 약간 튼진 담보죽보 그 대탕 그래와 되니 샘게 되네 샘게 대 바다낭 대단히 되다 심디 되니 여러 때문에 되니 추도 약간 튼진 배는 추조상 코리오 줄업병세사게 되네 개히니 요데바이나 데이터 텔당 아주지 다 레짐데 소리 이치유 건조성 된도요나 다 담주지 밀리 딩바레스 담주지 밀리 토버 다 데이터 담주지 밀린데 하장이 힘되는 니가오레스 뭐 다도 빼 장조도 좀 망부선 거요 다도 야침보 여러 봐서 빼나 장기 보고는 제시나 빼나 손손 야와 예다도 장사지 뭐 쳐버 여러 봐서 되네 야 라다 뭐 배나도 솔라야 마보데 가나서 뭐지볼 차야나 뭐 쉬어요 봐서 뭐 장보리 인 장인데 로아 저쪽은 로아 인데 들어와이나 뭐 장데 하정 그 뉴뉴로 와서 되니 뭐게나냐 담배 추듬니 레짐들이 이치유니 또 하정 뉴뉴 차대요 봐서 뉴뉴 차인데 당 알아서 다 레짐데다 konchosumna 이치유 되니 추도 약간 튼진 차상와요 되는 너다부터 힘든 데는 니빠까우리스 단 너다부터 밀리 토야 되는 힘든 니빠까워요 그래서 르밀리 짱만도스 난 도르데나 먹게나네 알아서 다 담배 주드엔 튼지요 너다부터 니빠까워리서 대가서 하고거다 담주주 밀리든 알아 짜치 뭐 같이 임바 저도 뭐 참 인데 뭐 참은 알아 리 짜치 뭐 저거 뭐다 파야 돼 든로 속차이나 수술 리딘데 배 짜치 뭐 저거 와서 이나 영화에서 담배치 이거는 희게나 대례장 기체오인 하고 그래서 가래 기체하고 오 리틴 되게 되네 리틴 되더니 당하나서 산지지 공방 톱스에 될 리틴 드든 접투고요. 늘 로스 접을 리틴된 인지 리틴된 담 산지지 공방 톱스에 될 접투고요 말. 로와 나라도 지 체스마게 대와 깨와 스마게 대진 무슨 소바. 대 탐지 그 기블레 수남 코너된 정보여 봐. 수남 코너된 정보여디 오 대인데 수남데 수사를 먹을 때는 사투고여 봐. 먹을 때 대답되는 사법 만한도 달리 때 잠보 더답 톱 대바 데스걸 땡아 하고 그랬어. 오늘 나랑 루틴 아침 보인 갑 대두 가래 하고 오 나랑 지 밤주 유미 넘버 유미 롭주 유미 그게 시기요 말. 저 담주 주밀 때 장망보에 천드는 르기 때니 나게 담배 추드야 르기 때니 제내 나참이 봐 왕보 살보인 봐. 봐. 샘 그때니 콘초스입니다. 레짐들 이치요나 다 제시 자 물리들 뭐 세디 당 물리 안 담보 쳐야 되다. 안 담보 teni nga chuduyan tunji yona teni ta betam juji mili ta manan chodu jiba sunam sanje macha sakpa teni te tawa ta nga zi top yupa teni te ngui sing go resi te ngui sing ne teni ti teni nga zi ta gang tutu gewa drup go resi gewa madam na pang seya jidwa pang seya te ta megi dikba le la ju tam pang se tawa tse na dwa te tawa tam juji mili te top jang si 오늘 나가 개와야 맞아 딕바야 마가 마빵 알바 년친 발밑 땅 안한 게지 릉아 있음 주거니 되니 몇개와 코나 줍되나 몇개 코나 줍나 되니 때 힌트님 팡보레에서 다때 뺀 논트 침벌에서 다 노르스 팡세 논트 침벌 뺀나 나랑 솔다 pen dorje palam roch chiran la pal chik thop de na rewa dorje palam roch yana la pal ko ya yamana kel ta ya yamana chikenzuglo ko ya tan dorje palam chik yuna pedring thang din ba rewa khazi te chik kumanta chapa yamana la songwa yana hakyang phangbo rewa semnon pen jupa chebochi chigir wa seyina chigir wa ko jet chimbor wa ni thang chimbor wa phangbo rewa as 배 대던 충고요. 배 대던 충고요. 동기 전에 가르치는 나글 리틴도 노르게 팔람데 고 린탕 침보 잠리 텔레 로스 집어 걸게요. 나나서 밀리데 테라라고 밀리 되더니 다랑 나나 그 내가 손에서야 기 침보리라 끼와 스마게 되지 탐제 다를 리티드는 용어. 다를 리틴 듣는 중거. 다 다를 리틴 듣는 게 개와 맞어봐이나 다 먹여봐 코나 릅친드 코나 치등 아주 삼노다는 먹여봐 샤다 릅송아이나 근데 뱀 팡보르시 니마징 좀 치거를 왔어 좀 누난 치거를 만도는 치거를 왔어 근데 저거가 담 팡보르시 되는 마종이 송숨셈을 잡았다 근데 제가 체람만 보더니 동하게 저 탐지 릅이야로 동하게 좀 망보지 릅 근데 달리틴드 보사디고 도지 팔란도 지나는 배야 같이 못 같이 째나 지나 라차도 차려봐 저 토비하면도 배 되나 혼자 소나 상지 맞아 사기 리틴 듣는 게 기와 맞아봐이나 니만이 치고 까놓고 륜드 코 신경 로저리마도 대사요 말어 치고 까블라 말한 거 사기 레드 코나 지선랑 요거로 대인데 되는 말한 게 기와 맞으면 다 딕바 드비하는 때 힘드는 방법이에서 다 땡아 솔리 망 없죠지거를 남배 취해야 되는 거 프로세스 때 땡아 소소소소 삼노 땅을 봐 네 리틴 듣는 게 사와 게벨레 같이 좀도 먹게벨레 같이로 된 하나 소소소소를 지적자 그러봐 지적장은 난 처음이 모델라 방보지다 인 방보 때는 최사를 왜 그러봐 샘때에서 좋아하던 리병안이 최사를 대당하는 게 되잖아요 되니 삼노 땅고레스 디벨레라 제네더니 좋아이나 되니 신드는 방보레스 거다 다 되는 하나 좋다 넘버 산지부 다지 취지지 선란사도 된 처와는 막 방바지 차트별 때는 메소치 거래서
So my first verse here is that this perfect human body is so difficult to find is wasted by engaging in unvirtuous evil deeds. And so so now that we have found a precious human body, this precious human body is extremely difficult to find. It has many incredible qualities, but it said in brief, there are 18 freedoms and advantages that make your human existence a perfect, precious human life. And so Angkor Boba explains that we have certain qualities that are personal, and then there are certain circumstantial qualities or conditions that need to be complete in order for us to be able to practice the Dharma. So we need certain conditions in order to be able to say we have a precious human body. So for example, we need to have an able body. We have a body that we are physically able to practice the Dharma. So we are physically well. And also we are mentally able to practice the Dharma. We don't have like a mental disability. We are able to practice the Dharma. We have an ability to cultivate pure perception and devotion. So these are all personal conditions. And then there are circumstantial conditions, and that is about our surroundings, the outer conditions that we encounter, that we need to encounter in order to be able to practice the Dharma. For example, we need to meet a teacher, a qualified teacher, who teaches us on karma, who gives us the Dharma teachings so that we can understand them and develop trust in karma and then practice. So now we have found all of these conditions. All of these conditions have now come together, and that is what we call a precious human life. And that is extremely rare. And it is in the Dharma generally explained that the difficulty of finding a precious human body is explained in terms of causes, in terms of examples, and in terms of numbers. So there are many ways to show that. But for example, if we think about numbers, when we think about how hard it is to find a human body in terms of numbers, then we bring to mind all the countless beings that exist in the lower realms, especially in the hell realms and in the realms of the hungry spirits. There are just an unimaginable number of beings there. And then when we compare that to the number of gods or even just human beings, there are really not many human beings. So now when we look around in the world, we often think that there are so many human beings, there are just too many people. But really, when we compare the number of beings, of human beings on this earth, and compare that to how many beings there are in the hell realms, for example, and the lower realms, there are really very few. So there are really only very few human beings. And then among these few human beings, there are not many who actually practice virtue. Who actually believe in karma, who have all of these conditions complete. There are not many at all. So not many people. How many people really have the interest in practicing the Dharma and believing in karma, and then practicing it perfectly, practicing virtue and abandoning non-virtue perfectly? So we can really see that this human, precious human existence is indeed very rare. And so, and now, of course, it's easy for us to understand that this body is precious because we naturally consider ourselves as very precious and as very important. But it is precious from a Dhamma perspective. It is more than just this life, because with this body, you actually have the opportunity, the potential to become enlightened. And you actually cannot accomplish that in any other form, in any other birth, in any of the other realms, in the 6 realms. You can only become enlightened through a human body. And now we have it. And not only that, we have all of these conditions necessary for Dharma practice. So then even though we have that, if we waste it, just chasing after meaningless things or just doing a lot of negative things instead of practicing virtue, instead of practicing the Dharma, it is indeed very regrettable. It is a great mistake. It is just like you are throwing away a precious diamond. And so now in the next life, if we want to be happy in the future life and even in this life, all of the happiness in this and future lives comes from our merit. And so how can we accumulate merit? We can only accumulate this merit through a precious human body. Now we have this human body, we actually have an ability to use it for that. And so that is how we should reflect. We should think, so now I have this precious human body. It doesn't come from nowhere, but it comes from great merit. And only with this kind of life can I create the merits to be happy. So if you reflect in this way, recognize how rare and precious this life is. And so often when we think about how precious our life is, we may think that it's precious if we are rich, or if we are very beautiful, or if we have if we are very educated. We think that this is what makes a life really valuable. But actually, this is not the case from the Dharma perspective. So what makes this body really precious is if you use it for Dharma practice. So it's precious because you now have an ability. You are physically able. There's nothing physically preventing you from practicing the Dharma. You are mentally able. You have a functioning mind. You have faith and devotion in the three jewels, and trust in karma, cause and effect. And if you trust in that, then with that actually, with 100% certainty, you create the causes for another precious human birth. So the best way to create these causes is through a precious human body. And now we have this incredible opportunity to use it, and we have to recognize it and make good use of it. And so then therefore we need to practice virtue as much as we can, because the main point is that we want to leave this life without any regrets. So even if we have found a precious human life, if we don't practice virtue and just commit negative actions, then we have wasted this life. We haven't done anything useful with it. And that is very regrettable. At the time of death, that is the greatest regret. It is if we spend, we have already some time in our life, and day and night, we spend our whole time just doing unwholesome things, and with this precious and rare body. And so this is how now we should reflect and reflect on that. So for example, you have a diamond. If you find, if somebody gives you a diamond, you will cherish that. For example, somebody gives you a diamond bracelet or a diamond ring or a diamond necklace. You cherish that. You treasure your diamond jewelry because it's very expensive. And then one day, if you lose it or if someone steals it, then you will be very upset because you have just lost something that is extremely valuable. But actually, this precious human body is far more valuable than even a diamond. A diamond just is a lot of money, but that's it. But this human life is the only way, only vehicle through which you can attain true lasting happiness, and not just in this life, but also and mainly for future lives. So if you don't use it to practice a virtue and instead spend your life just engaging in negative actions, then when death comes, there will be regret, and death will come. And that's our ultimate destination. Whether we want it or not, we are going to die. And when we die, then we will have nothing to rely on, no protection, no guide. Because when we die, we are carried away by the karma. That is all that remains. And then if I have created mostly negative karma, then as a result, I will fall into the 3 lower realms. And then therefore, at the time of death, at that point, I will feel great regret. So just like you're losing a valuable diamond, it's something that once it's lost, it's gone, and you can't just get it back. So once your life is over, then this precious body is gone. And that is why right now, while we still have it, we must make the best use of it as much as we can. And that is the purpose of the Dharma. That is why we are introduced. And it's important also to think about it, to really count, to really ask yourself, so how much virtue have I actually done? And how many harmful actions, negative actions have I committed? It's important to think about that. Think about that if I were to die today, would I feel any regret? Or would I die with some peace in my heart, with some happiness? So that's something we really have to reflect on. And so if you find that I'm spending all my life just mostly doing useless and harmful things, then when my death comes, it will be too late. And then I will strongly regret. So therefore, try to spend your life now with mindfulness, since we are Buddhist practitioners and we follow the Dharma. At the very least, we have to ensure that we die without any regrets. So.
Mege digbele chetam bangse ta mege digbele sitindona tene ngage tara lu nga yisubji gone she ta yena nu besawa ngage gone luji gone dona shedang chadong desen te tabu gone tene le chetra choso gangsa bayena tene ta te tabu ta tamju jumbili te tabu tangyana tene te pekshindane pangborese ta te tonda te chi 다 대답 제기하바이나 되는 밀리드 배드 동로리스 다 먹이 기블레 맞아버지 먹이래서 대답 밀리드 되니 배 린탄 친구들은 말해서 거다 밀리 짜친 뭐인세 먹이버 줍되는 거 린탄 친구 강에 말해서 배나 말아래 봐 엄마들 공 참라 유대되더라 되니 문파제게더라 되니 샤와 세거로 봐 되니 샤와스에 지드더니 귀천티 샤친틴더니 샤와도 종류 거요 되니 말아래바 토네 되니 말아래바 디콘은 거르선으로 어쩌다 저 담주물이 공선도 맞추는 돈은 공주미에서 저담 물리 톱에 하장 공부를 뭐 득바시니 득바 먹에 잡친 것이니 추운데 얘네들이 공부해 말해서 거 가르스는 디 담주물이 톱세에 가르스는 고지 숭남사야 그 니바 요자 되니 대스는 되니 대 갑을 커버리서 그 숭남 마사와이나 대답을 지먹에 와서 아니 얘네들이 다 든로나 이 작을 왔어 뭐이 bakangil 든로나 이 강양 빠랑 마게 대답을 드니 강양 자친부 말해서 그래 다 책이 받을 가르쳐 님바르가 담주 멀리장만도 취미 타마르치 르스 혈은 반세 대다다 동다 공된 라오린 너드나 담주 멀리장만도 라니 그더니 게벨레 강야 마드브네로 게벨레 강야 마드브치 그러와 딕보 왕드송 뚜모 왕드송 그러와 대답했더니 먹게봐 게와 마드브치 딕바 마파만체네 드니 대답치네 드니 빼 드니 대답하는 거나 샘족 존에 드니 다 처리되 드니 빼 샤네 드니 취미데 샤는다 힌드니데 담조지 밀리 톱데 드니 빼 팡보리 송거다 잡을 책 공든이라 어리다
And so then, so we are wasting our precious human life by engaging in non-virtuous deeds with our body, speech, and mind. And so mainly it is with body and speech that we engage in actions driven by jealousy, anger, or competitiveness, and so forth. Now, and so if that is the case, if you use your body in this way, then that is indeed very regrettable, because then this life becomes just empty or meaningless. no matter how rare and precious it was, it has become worthless from that perspective. And so, for example, once when Milarepa was in retreat, he encountered a hunter who chased a deer. And so as he was chasing the deer, he ran past Milarepa, and then Milarepa sang this song to him as a teaching, and he said that it is generally speaking, it is said that it is extremely difficult to find a precious human body. The human body is indeed very precious and hard to find. However, when I look at someone like you, it doesn't seem that rare after all, doesn't seem that hard after all. And so that's because he uses this human life to kill an animal. And so doing that, actually, that kind of precious life is not really that rare, because what this hunter is doing is that now that he has actually the ability, the power to accumulate merit, he doesn't do it. He doesn't use the human life that way, and he uses it in an evil way. And that makes one be just like an animal, just not understanding what to do and what not to do, and being totally ignorant. And so then the next verse, this perfect human body with the freedoms and advantages so hard to obtain is wasted by dying an ordinary, unspiritual person. So this verse is actually quite similar to the previous verse. So if we only engage in negative actions and spend our life just in control, in the grip of ignorance, and do not give up harmful actions and do not practice any virtue, do not do anything good, then at the end of this life, when we die, it is a great loss, a great waste. So it is deeply regrettable.
당연하도 담주주 밀리 톱됐더니 인터넷에 까와서 보여됐더니 다 취미 되시는 신들의 방법을 봤어. 타마르도 마셔버지려와 나랑서 라마 게위히니 망본지야요리 레줌리리 이치요레로 되니 나랑 같이 로르가 있음 주고는 게와 강 터트드립 로 되더니 로 게발라 같이 꼬트트 로 게벨레 망보요 게벨레 망보레 다른 심진의 핀페 사와 듬는 데교요레 대마이나 소소지 소소 랑게치 존드치르와 존드치네 되니지 konchosumda lejimde yichi yubogone teni konchosumda ya de patana ro simjile sangingje simjile sawa jachimbo druptuna digor marhamna ya soso jigbo de nan digor jigbo de konchosumda de pache ro soso che luka sansia ro nga ga konchosumda de pa jamrondo ya yigone konchosumda de pa muguchiya yana simjile ninjesiya 내한 삼자지 추준 소바치 모두도 연구여와 도솔 냠교시야 디고는 지금 아글롱아 있은 거는 저 추게 되는 럽병시야 되네 남주 남게치 셈마양부터니 강투도 남주 개발은 배서세나 되니 저 갑랑 나는 유바 마치에 좀 연구여와 주 마고 좀 연구 그래서 나글 셈데 콘조스는 레와차데 대파데 레와차데 심지는 인제당 콘조스는 대파차는 난 레와차데요 레와차네 디디는 나랑 셈라 초보갑라 징낭 미바 차고요레스 단도나 갑부 게조스야 강투도 게발레 가레는 거 곰 잡는 거 ndolo는 거 가동 gebjo 가르세는 거 산치는 거요 너드는 얘네 핀바 사와 임바야 듬는 거 너드는 멋진데치 뇽무바던데 단지던데 셰당단 차도던데 사와 마임바 닝제다 삼바다 대바던데 사와 강듬나야 템때 약보 차가 요래서
And so now, now that we have found the precious human life, we must practice as much as we can. Because if we die an ordinary person, that is, if we die without having practiced the Dharma, although we have met with teachers and so forth, if we die without having done anything, we just die an ordinary person, it is a great cause of regret. So now we have met with great masters, with teachers. We understand and we believe in karma, and we have a ability to practice virtue, and so therefore we must direct body, speech, and mind to practice whatever virtue we can practice. And there are many different kinds of virtues, activities, many things that we can do. We can cultivate love and compassion for others and help others. We can benefit other sentient beings for example, in a vast sense. But if not, we can practice, because we have encountered the three jewels, so we can develop faith in the three jewels, and we can reflect on karma and develop trust in karma. And so if you have an ability to help others, you help them. If not, be diligent in your practice, even if you stay by yourself. You can say the refuge prayer. You can do prostrations with your body, with your speech. You can recite refuge. With your mind, you can cultivate devotion to the three jewels and love and compassion for sentient beings. Or sometimes when there is a Dharma gathering, a group gathering, you can participate and join. You can study and learn the Dharma. You can practice. You just don't want to waste your time in distraction, and must make any effort so that at least when your death comes, at least you will be able to go without any regret in your life. And you will be able to go without regret if you do so, because in this way you have connected your mind to the three jewels. You have when you cultivate devotion and you cultivate compassion to sentient beings, you have established this connection to the three jewels. And then when you die, there will be no fear. So in brief, do whatever virtue you can, whether it is reciting prayers or practicing meditation or reciting sutras or doing prostrations or helping others and so forth. Reciting texts, whatever you can, do so with a pure mind, and don't spend your entire life doing things that come from selfishness and hatred and anger. And if whatever you do comes from a place of love and compassion, then whatever you do will turn out good.
닝무 tuji matse yung tong yu zamde dongmi sawalela sedam pangs zo tate kari tingi dosin matapa tingi yoro se 닝무 tu se tu 닝마 se na tara ngarang su tu sun dilla tu 닝마 se na tene nyomungpa chimbo yore la wata nyomungpa chimbo yore tu su la tu 닝마 se tu tene tse tungtong ri la 세 통통 레스 배 가드에는 건 천충충 직축조 여러 왔어 직축조 여래스 대인데 도미 사을 레라스 세던 팡스 당하는 수지 뒤님만도 물리 톱이래 담주지 물리 톱이래 때 로버도 되니 죽어 여러 왔어 마치는 보지 대고 산마양 가서 대왕요 말아봐서 남지고 드랭 산이가 자기 리셔데 나 산이 라게 요미 하고 말봐 대인들이 다랑한 람상아 담배출 팔로 들고래라고 다 담배출랑 카토파 담배출은 죽 담배출 냠네 지고 가든 치 하고요 말해서 띵닝 말봐서 띵닝 말빼 마타나 마타 하장게 뺀 주보용 거래라고 띵닝 말아 되니 뇽뇽 봐 쇼치 뭐여래 되니 마타바 빼 주보용 거래 대인들이 나랑 챈드 그치 사와 라 하장 hinjin cha nerwa 이는 젠더 소소 지금 손에 쥐건 손에 쥐든 소탑 쥐고 될 강에 까고요 말이에요. 얘는 도움이 버서와 망보지 가서 두주 초란 주고 여러와 두주 초란 주고 나한테 남주 수수수지 geb다다 빼나 두주 같이 초란 주도 소소기 드고 첸더치다 양나 체 스미치 드브데나 코 사와지 드고 여러와 첸더치다 양 드고 테 마드브란더 첸더 네고로와 테 드고 얘나 티 파로드는 베 두수 시 초란 주고 테 소소수 답이지 데데 두수 초란 주는 첸더 사바 다지 동미 사와라 되는 가게 레 센로 그래서 데데 데답 세네 되는 가 쳐와 있는 되는 하장 가 두수 짜 물류도 짜치고 두수 짜치고 로와 되네 되네 배 담배 추드에 고갑진 거 되네 또 쇼는 거 되지 대 쇼네 되는 거 같이 배는 하나도 제 추드에 주당 알 두수 유나야 두수 될라 마땅 와치로 아 사와 임바질 땅 로와 배는 제 소소 조보 조모토야 양만의 진세 모제야 로와 양만의 갈라고 다르디 소소 직 데몬다 따야 로와 양만의 소소 직 계자시야 로와지 센더지 레로다 밤이 버왕 로와지 사왕 인신라 사왕 인신 다고 뇨몽바도 쇼치엔서데 되는 사와지 판 뇨몽분 누버소들 된 쇼진 로워와스 뇨몽분 누버소 되는 텔라파 신진 차네 제 개와 듬도 그 로시다 마체비치 제 추냠네시야라 양 베서시다 진이미 바치 그봐 징아맘 슈슈가란 인기 메게발라치 론종로야 도저연데 다 된지 제서는 되니 배 당하란서 도미가 사발래라 되니 아 셋 존도 요래라 뭐 데이터 존은 되니 팡보레선 되는데 되니 알아서 다르디 초마다 바데 양스 삼을 땅 거스 다들 마다바 삼을 땅 와이나 오늘 나 남치 하고 말해서 데 마다바데 제 와이나 되니 딜롤 저도 투거래 딜롤 저도는 지 개발라 나 hingi 전주 투거래 되는데 마다바 양스 되는데 하장 개침 붙자고 그래서 제와 히비 마다비 나는 찐이 좀 마다인 바 시요래 제와 히빈 직바시 그런 직바시 빈 마다시 마다니 된 인지 요긴 담배추네 똑바른 저스 된 마다바데 야보 하건데 나 이게 담배추 하고 그래서 된 담배추를 저 론죠 된 지고래서 나도 챈듯이 로 요는 뭐 같이 대야가 차이 야나야 코 마다바 로로 인사도 된 가든 치 하고 막 대도 나랑 빼 나랑 고야한테 가래리도 로와 나랑 담배 좀 밀으려 나 담배줄 롭전시 레짐들이 있지도 나 고야 돼 엄마 고야 돼 가르리도 그러 나 고야 돼 오늘 소남리도 왔어 나 고야 돼 게블레린도 와 대하고 되는 나 게블레라 팔론 주고레스 나 고야 돼 안테인데 되니 다르데 저거지 그 송도 왔다 가르리 첸의 용통 시즌 넘버 망 첸의 배 하장 그 통통리 첸의 용통 시즌 넘버 망 배 장야 배 망보 네좀 망보 배 가래 장나 그 조야요 말이라 보다 장야 조야 만도 등상 그 쉬위 연구도 생하전 단원 유년의 등상 배 자지하던 출자 그래 라면 장야 그 조야 만도 첸의 용통 시즌 넘버 14는 망보레스 얘네 정말 장고는 히트비야 말이라 탈신야 개요 말이스 세네요도 십즈 넘버망 다 가르치 세네 제자미시베스 나 세가 셀 대금이 하고 오면 세네 제자미시베 나 같이 되고 하고 오면도 와스 다 가르치 거래세나스 낭베철 오만지바다 데네 랑게 누바탕보 랑와르치아스 베나스 낭바케 되니 오마데 쳇니 칸지도 와스 낭바고 오마 쳇니 칸 베디나이 랑게 누바탕보 랑와사스 랑긴 도파 담보 나랑 고향 엄마한테 파담 거르시 나랑 고향 엄마한테 팔론 주거리 그 사와 청망이 히트비야다 사와 청망에 차리야 개요 말이야 고야데 담 데니티드는 파 다때 장기대 히단제는 렉직 간진다고 지내로와 갑통 안한 로직을 판주는 데니 사와 두고레스 다 가리 두고르신 내 게벌레 파딕빠빠야 마게와 빠야 서 게벌레 숨남사야 다 텔론 주네 데니 정말 장군 장토예요 말 상망의 지군 지토예요 말 때문에 나는 고향 엄마한테 가리다 텐티드는 파 론조 거래서 데린도서 던지지 마제베 체네 데네다 사완 제 숨남 그 사완 마이바 데네 숨나 마이바 데네 사와라 데네 나글 던지지 뜻을 땅이야는 되네 배 방법을 성거다.
And now the next verse is this fleeting human life, already short in this dark age, is wasted when spent on pointless activities. So this human life, so this verse essentially teaches impermanence, and impermanence is particularly important for us to understand in the times of degeneration, because we now live in the degenerate age, and impermanence is pertinent in the degenerate age. It's right there, and that is because the lifespan is set to be very short in the degenerate age, and the afflictive emotions are very strong. So even though we have now found this precious human body, we can actually die at any moment. So you might think that you will live still a long life, but actually you have no control over it. Actually, I have no guarantee that I will still be around tomorrow. So there is really an urgency in practicing the Dharma now because of the nature of this age, the degenerate age. In this time and age, impermanence can strike very quickly, and the afflictions are very strong. And yet we spend all of our time, especially nowadays, busy with many meaningless things. We're doing all kinds of things. We're following our attachments, our desires, and do whatever we want to do in this life, like there is no tomorrow. But in fact, we're not doing what truly matters. And so I'm not saying that we shouldn't survive or make a living. Of course, we have to make sure that we also make a living. So we have to engage in certain worldly activities, but we should not spend our entire life just waste that and not doing anything that matters, just busy doing meaningless things. And so we should really think about how much time have I already wasted? So we need to survive, but also we don't want to waste our life. So we have to really think about it, examine your own life, and then see that through all these things, all these distractions, my life just runs out. And it just passes by, and I'm losing all my opportunities to practice the Dharma. And that is a huge loss. And so now, even though you actually have the opportunity, it's already so hard to have the opportunity. So now you actually do have the opportunity, but instead of using it with urgency, you are doing something else. You are using it for other things, like you're going around, you're meeting up with friends, and maybe you're gambling, or you're doing something for fun, some entertainment, or you're just talking for hours with your friend, and so on. You're spending all your time in laziness and distraction, and follow your desire. And so we don't, because of these like tendency, there's something called a laziness that is a natural tendency toward negative actions. So because we have that, we don't really ever feel a natural tendency toward doing something good. And we don't really feel very motivated to put a lot of effort in a Dharma practice. And also practicing non-virtue, doing negative things, that comes almost naturally. And so being distracted by that, we make no effort in Dharma practice, and just without us even noticing it, our life just passes by, and we are going to die. So it's really very important to think about one's own death over and over again. think about I'm going to die and I don't know when I'm going to die. That reflection helps turn your mind away from all these meaningless distractions. And so reflect that. So since I'm born, I also must die. This is something we all know. And life is impermanent. And if you really understand impermanence, then that Dharma practice will come to you really just naturally, and you will naturally turn toward the Dharma. But for the most part, the way we live our lives is as though we are living forever. But then death comes suddenly. Impermanence strikes suddenly, and we don't know when that is going to be. So now what we need to think about is, so what is it that I really need? We don't have much time to waste, so we need to get right to the point. So what do I really need? So I have a precious human body. I've met with the Dharma. I understand karma, cause and effect. So what do I need now? What do I need? What I need is merit. I need to create merit or accumulate virtue. But that is what we need to understand. We need to understand. Because if you understand this, then you will begin engaging in virtuous actions. Lord Atisha had said that this life is very short, and the distractions of this life are endless. And so he said that at a totally different time. Nowadays, actually, there are even more distractions. Actually, in the old days, there were much fewer distractions. Nowadays, with all this technology and the internet and so on, there are just endless distractions, constantly. And there's just so many things to know. There's endless things to know. And there's just no way that we can know it all. So he said that don't try to learn everything and learn everything and anything that you encounter. You can't possibly learn it all, know it all. Just think that how long am I going to live? That is uncertain. So he said that you should be skillful of separating between what you really need and what you don't really need. Just like a swan can apparently skillfully separate with its beak, it can separate milk from water. And so similarly, I need to select what is it that I really need in this life and then leave the rest, because you can't get everything. You can't learn everything. So since time is short, there's no time to waste. I need to take whatever I actually need, whatever helps me, and leave the rest behind. There's no time for all of that. So this is how you turn your mind toward virtue and toward giving up non-virtue. If I don't do that, so think that if I don't do that, if I just spend my life chasing distractions and I do not create any merit when I actually can, then later that will be a great cause of regret.
Ransim chukur ranjin tumin de Chufan Kovan dam the Sengdam Pans, the Titipe Nenga Chimbo Redoas, Titipe Nenga Chimbo. Karisongo is an answer, Ransim to the Naranga Sims, Sim to your own some Sims, you somewhat a Hipachi, you some Gorwa. Tati ngana teni mato ngoni teni nga sam yu ne sere nga shibachi yu re samne rewa teni teni nga ta nga yen zene teni nga le sa ne le sa pala teni kon roa re yu ran yin ke le ka chom den roa re junan teni kon teni donga de yin yu re so yin ya tung po ne lo ke teni ran sem de rang ke sem de chi nga ta da hi ba te tu ku yo ma re so ran심 추거 똥반이 시비와 추거 똥반이 오늘 샘비 고 몽보네로 코나 똥이레스 똥반이레스 똥반이 양 데 노스이래요 나한테 유민 타 탐제를 쭈바 탐제를 잡았어 양 샘비 똥반이 지 강염이 받던데요 말이 똥반이 남도 유미 탐제겐 탈을 잡아 그러와 똥이스 ran심 추거 란인 뚜민도스 나한테 지 송이 왔다라데 자셀라네나 가르성 열에서나 셈니 두네 찌번 타탄 잘 셈코랑 우본 내롱올라 찌번 타 탐지를 자와레스 찌바 센서드 라인지 맞르바 뺀남 카타부들 만화도 때 찌바미 바스 찌미 찌바스는 가서 오 나유바 치랑유바 가도 깔호야 유바 말보야 유바 대왕 유바 다고 찌바 차다 종의 요령 유바 진배 셈장 유바 대 중진 때 찌바 차스 찌미스들랑 이제 말을 찌탐 동반이 뺀남 카다 셈진 내로 대하고 그랬어 찌바미바 된 탐지를 자와스거다 데이터 하거나 때문에 생보 내로 데이터를 레이스 나라서 데 좁아는 뭐지가 송유와서 랑 추그임바 마시바르스 은행거는 생보 내로 그 추지거임바 데 마시네스 마시바랑 추그임바 마시바 세ny모왕도 줄바예스 다 나는 게 생보 셈내로 그런 추그 동반이임바 데 마시네 드니 나게 서로 그 중진 탐절 판 추송해서 준네 니드니 세ny모왕도 줄세 드니 거 다다 이신 준네 다긴 이신 준네 드니 데데네 제 레망보 산도 여러와스 세ny모왕도 다 셈코란 드니 셈난데 녀모방 나서 망보다 단진 요체데 녀모방 망보도와 드니 녀모방도 전에스 줄송하레스 세ny모왕도 좋아요 드니 텔레티네 망코는 참 심지나 송도 드니 텔레티네 다 단진레테네 녀몽발레테네 레사발테네 코아데나 흰 줌루거레스 데이터부터는 코알만 찬송을 드니 옆집을 한번 치지 잡으로지 해요와 다 돈다 드는 가리팅 거르잖아 랑 추기긴 봐마 히버서 오늘 나는 서삼노 땅 나는 곰잡 삼노 땅 텐데 쟤는 오늘 샘코라 내로 생코랑 우번 내로 그때니 거 추추가 동반이 차대요. 그래서 돈다 대시거를 대다보다 추가 동반이 봐 인바데 인발 마시네스 주밤이 봐 셈내로도 마시네. 되니 주밤 코번 남도 생등방은 주밤 코와다들 공도 휴반하기 주바스리 되니 다다 이신진에 텔레데네 레사네 되니 코와나나 반춘루로 너야가 너도와 다히 인항되는 전에 되니 되는 당 코와는 던지지네 되니 만트와 왕의 송되는 데는 배 방법이 시겨다 저 가르치거든 나는 솔라타라 라마 그 티의 명아 망보 해요로 샘냠니 뜻 하고요로 왔어 딩 아주 답고 맞아 버지라 곰 맞아 버지 냠니 맞아 버지 되니 배 샘든 추박 지스 가린장을 뭐지게 기대 야가지 해는 코야 뿌리 이상 가서 가축조도 오늘건 추리라 뭐지게 누가 지시 용화이나 람산롱랑도 가래징한 춘두거로 저는 네 야갈라서 너 두알라서 콘 춘네 텐티지슨 다네 테네페 셰당당 레도도 스트레 찍어다 테네 대당 아주 추와라고 추비지스 테네 추비지슨 당도 그래스 된 추와 임바 간디지 하고서 라마 민강에 공도 휴요 망하나도 라마 민가도 섬다 라마 민가는 하나도 다 베네트랭 감보버 송도 솔다데네로 너드나 나한테 지 다hin 있는지 텔레티네 되는 나한테 딕바 먹게 레사네 참만 춘네 딘데 먹게 와사는 그래서 다 텔로 쳐도네로 텔로 쳐도네 나게 셈랑 나랑겠다 셈랑 나랑겠다네 되니 삼바 정보 게벨레 로체트야 먹게 로 빵트야 텔은 베서치 다 티드는 야테스 야제서네 되니 삼hin지 자처다 되니 텔레 하테스 야제서는 다 돈이 기타와 되니 또 테스 때 하고야지 되니 때서 로장 되니 되니 제나 되는 같은 추왕도 누구 말이지 추와서 도고요레스 대만이 베체 되니 남주고 배 차담무서 코나 때는 로소마이네 되니 컨트로버지스 동어레스 트로버지스는 신의 방법에서 돈다 되니 인사레스
Next, yeah. So then the next verse, number 4, your mind, whose unconstructed nature is Dharmakaya, is wasted by sinking into the muddy swamp of samsaric delusion. So these words here, actually, this verse here is actually quite important. So the mind is actually the Dharmakaya. So normally we think this, when we look at our mind, we think that the mind is me. We have this general perception of this, that's me. There's this I. And so it's that I that then accumulates karma, and which then wanders through the 6 realms of samsara, experiencing a lot of suffering. So we think that there is this mean. And actually, when we recognize our mind, we see that there is no self and there's also no other. The mind is naturally empty, and this natural emptiness of the mind is the Dharmakaya. So the Dharma Kaya essentially is emptiness. But so emptiness does not mean nothing. Emptiness means being unfabricated. So not just empty, but emptiness. Not just empty as in just blank, nothing, but emptiness. Emptiness that is a lack of elaboration. In the 37 Bodhisattva practices, it says, the mind is free, mind itself is free from the extremes of elaboration. So this elaboration means elaboration refers to mind-made constructs. And so being unelaborated means that the mind does not inherently exist as a construct. So it is just like space. Space is unelaborated. And elaboration or fabrication is when we develop concepts such as there's me, as I exist, and then there's you, me and you exist. Everything exists. Like this is white and this is red, and there is happiness, and there is a subject that perceives an object, and so forth. That's elaboration. And unelaborated means that actually the true nature of the mind is unelaborated. There is nothing that truly exists. It's just like space. And so it is free from all the extremes of existence and non-existence, like space. And so regarding the nature of the mind, Jigten Sumgön had said in the verses of supplication to Taram, sentient beings have not recognized that their own mind is actually the Dharmakaya. Not recognizing their own mind to be the Dharmakaya, sentient beings have come under the control, under the power of afflictions. And so we don't recognize that our true nature is the empty Dharmakaya. Not recognizing that, we turn outward and we grasp at outer appearances, and we take what we see as real. And that is how we become deluded, how we become confused. And so we perceive this subject-object duality, self and other. And that's a confusion. But with a confused mind, we act out, we accumulate much karma. The mind is confused, and therefore we develop many afflictive emotions. We grasp at the self and we develop afflictive emotions. We are controlled by afflictive emotions. And so all the sentient beings, Jigten Sumgön says, they do not recognize that they themselves are the Dharmakaya, but instead they are controlled by self-grasping and afflictive emotions. And due to the karma accumulated with these afflictions, they endlessly wander in samsara. Please, Tara, protect them. So of this verse, the main point that we need to understand here today is that we need to recognize that the mind is the Dharmakaya. And so for that, look at your mind and meditate. Look at your empty mind on how it actually exists. And so so not recognizing this nature, we become confused in samsara, and that is a great cause of regrets. So we are drowned, not recognizing that, we are drowned in the endless swamps of samsaric confusion. That is a great cause of regret. So we are stuck and we are unable to get out of this swamp. And we are stuck in this swamp because of this confused perception of self and other. And so being drowned in this dualistic confusion is very regrettable. And so now we have received many teachings from lamas. We have received many peace instructions. We have heard many essential instructions. We have heard about the nature of the mind, and we even understand the nature of the mind. And still, if we don't look at the mind, if we don't practice, and we instead just continue to follow our delusions, that is very regrettable. For example, how do we become confused? What does it mean to be deluded? For example, someone says something nice to you and you like that. You're happy about that. And when someone says something critical to you, then immediately you get very angry. And you have these thoughts where you think that, oh, he praised me or she insulted me and so on. And so that is the confusion, that's the delusion. And due to this confusion, from that, then we develop the other afflictions. We get angry and we develop hopes and fears and so forth. So this is how we become confused. So we need to recognize how we actually become confused, how we are deluded. And so now here, according to Gampopa's instructions, we are confused. Confusion comes down to our dualistic perception of self and other. And then with that dualistic mind, we engage in non-virtuous action and we do not engage in virtuous actions. So we create a lot of negativity with this confused mind. So what do we need to do? We need to turn our mind away from delusion and look at our mind and try to cultivate a mind of virtue, a mind that wants to practice the Dharma, and that lets go of negative actions, of negative habits. So we need to train the mind in that. And then as the mind improves, the practice improves somewhat, and the mind turns away from these distractions, then we cultivate it further by cultivating love and compassion. We train in that. And then as that develops, next, then we train in emptiness. And as you continue to train, essentially, delusion then loses all its power over you. But on the other hand, if you spend your life just following attachment, hatred, and ignorance, if you're completely controlled in all you do by these afflictions, and that is a cause for great regret.
Okay, today we're teaching in here. Now sadhana page number 28. Onjom den gombo sanje wa ba me ze chen jar se sam sen pa ben so nyo mo en ro la tu je ra gon la da so de chen shen den ren da so ngo en je tu je tam ja che shen de to da ma ye tu je wan ke la ling en ta zen ko wa ton zhuo ne ta da nie den zhen ban ze de so te dar dong xiao zha bei jiu ge wei nan te tu le tu jie wo man zhi da song zhuo wei nian kan ten be mo dan zin lo don chi ba ran sa ri che dan mi ju ge gong ba ngun je sa don zin mi zhe zhang an de yao yan de da nan ba gong de le zong wei su nan ta ye tan ba kan to de zhou wa dong er che wo jian wan ban me be ne ra to ba yu jan ju sim ju ren bo ma ji ba na ji ji ba nyam ba me ba con du be wa yu tum ba la me san je ren bo che jo ba la me dan je ren bo che ren ba la me gen de ren bo che Jam ne con cho sun lan ju bambu. Sorry, let it 30 minutes. 7 minutes. Enjoy your lunch. Enjoy your lunch.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. So, Dharma, brothers and sisters, if you don't have the teachings, the text on the teachings, you can visit the sadhana counter behind to scan the QR code. 那佛友，如果你需要那个法本的内容呢，请到后面的那个法本柜台扫描二维码。We will now break for 1 hour lunch or a little bit less than 1 hour. So please remain at your seats and our volunteers will be distributing the lunch bento now. So we seek your help to keep the area clean and ready for the next session of the retreat. So these bentos are only for full-time participants. So please make sure you're at your seat so that volunteers can pass it to you. 那现在呢，我们会休息1个小时用餐，请保持在你的座位上。那我们的义工呢，就会把那个便当分发给大家。那请大家呢，保持这个场地的这个整洁，然后为下一个环节呢做好准备。那这个今天的便当呢，是只有给全职的那个全天的这个参与者。那请大家保持在你的座位上，让义工分这个便当。So meanwhile, we do have some